Okay, I'm going to get started by just welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our group learning program where each Sunday and Wednesday I get together with students, helping them to understand the path to enlightenment as taught by the Buddha. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will no longer experience any discontent feelings. The mind has been trained to the point where you no longer experience feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll notice that your mind's focused, you have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You'll notice that your personal, professional relationships are really blossoming because in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility, and you're putting that out in your relationships, and it's damaging your relationships. Oftentimes people think that this hostility, this anger, this hatred is being caused by other people, but it's actually being caused by your own mind. This is the reason why you can eliminate it, because it's actually being caused by the mind itself. The Buddha figured this out through his life. By the time he was 35, he figured out how to get to the point where his mind no longer experienced anger and sadness and all these other discontent feelings. Instead, there were mental states like loving kindness and compassion and things like this that were permeating in the mind, and you can actually experience this today as you gradually train your mind. Oftentimes people think that the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this actually isn't true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. He talks about it in his teachings. And it's the same thing for you, that you're going to need gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. So at the beginning of each one of our classes, what I typically do is I guide you guys in a meditation session in order to be able to help you to learn meditation and practice this important training. But just understand there's other things that you need besides meditation. You wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment, but you also wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment without meditation either. So today what we're going to be doing is what's called loving kindness meditation. This is a meditation that essentially helps to rewire your mind to be more loving and kind. This is the antidote to anger, hatred, ill will, and all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. Right now, you might have certain people in the world that you like and certain people that you dislike. And you might think that that dislike is coming from the other person, but it's actually coming from your own mind, that the mind has a craving, desire, wants, expectations, and the mind expects everybody to be a certain way. The mind's craving permanence in the unenlightened state. And if people do things your way, you will like them. But if they don't do things your way, then you will dislike them. So the Buddha teaches loving kindness meditation to essentially rewire the mind, where you're filling up this loving kindness in the mind, this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill towards others. But then the way you really transform your anger, hatred, and ill will and all those lesser versions is you need to go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, speech, and actions. So I'm going to teach you the meditation here as part of our time together. And then after our meditation, I'm just going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teachings of the Buddha. That way you guys can get some help based in your meditation practice or anything you're seeing with the teachings of the Buddha or any things like this. It's important to keep in mind that there are no rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. If you've seen these kinds of things associated with the teachings of the Buddha, those aren't the teachings of the Buddha. He never taught rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. He also isn't teaching you a bunch of beliefs. He never taught anybody to believe anything. It's actually just the opposite. He teaches you to investigate and examine his teachings, to reflect on them, to verify if they're true or they're false, and then to practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life. And this is where the real transformation is occurring in your day-to-day life. So the way that we start with our meditations is we start with some chanting. If you would like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. We have chanting sheets on the cabinet over there. You're welcome to help yourself to get one. And for those of you guys that are online, you'll find this on our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. Click on free books and then just scroll down towards the middle of the page and you'll see the chanting sheet there. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to help commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is how they were able to remember his teachings. They didn't have books or YouTube or podcasts or any of these other kind of things, audiobooks, the things that we have today to be able to study the teachings and commit them to memory, they didn't have those 2,500 years ago. So they just recited his teachings orally. This is how they were able to commit them to their memory. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer. Today we use it as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. It kind of exercises the mind a bit, helps you build awareness of the mind and awareness of the breath. So if you chant along, you'll actually see the benefit of easing the mind into meditation. If you read the English translations of these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students either during his life or after his death. Because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, right? This would be ego or arrogance if somebody did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that. You just think of yourself as being equal to everybody. So if you'd like to chant these, you'll notice that it helps you as you ease into meditation. But just understand there's nothing mystical or magical here. It's not a prayer or worship or a ceremony or a ritual or anything like that. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to guide you in what's called a breathing mindfulness meditation session, where you'll hear me essentially teaching you and instructing you how to do this meditation, where you'll be focused on the breath. And anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. This is training your mind to let go, let go, let go, because that's what's actually causing the mind to experience anger and frustration and stress, anxiety, guilt and shame and fear and all these other feelings, because the mind's holding on. It's craving permanence and it doesn't know how to let go. So the goal of that meditation is to build awareness of mind, which is mindfulness, concentration, and then to eliminate this holding on, training the mind to let go. So there'll be that guidance. Then there's going to be a short period of time of quietness where we're all just kind of meditating together. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence and you hear a sound, it will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated or agitated or some other discontent feeling. This is the mind craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. But if you understand the world is full of impermanence and constant change, when you hear that sound in today's environment while we're meditating, you can just be at ease and just understand, well, of course there's a sound, because that's the way that the world works, that these sounds are going to arise, they're going to change, and they're going to fade away. But if you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. So then after that period of time of quietness, then we're going to go into loving kindness meditation, where you're going to hear me saying these phrases out loud. Phrases like, may I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. When you hear me saying that, you would like to repeat that in your own mind on the out breath. This is the part that's rewiring your mind to be more loving and kind. And you're starting with yourself, because it's very challenging to have love and kindness for others if you don't know how to love yourself. So you start with yourself. Then we're going to create these rings that get successively wider and wider and wider until eventually we get to all beings. You'll hear me say things like, may mom and dad be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness. When we're doing this, we're not sending mom and dad loving kindness. We're not trying to invoke some special power to change mom and dad. We can't actually change other people through our meditation. It's not possible. Otherwise, there'd be no such thing as murders and rapes and child abuse and things like that, because a bunch of us would just get together, we'd meditate, and then we change everybody else in the world. What this meditation is for is to change your mind so that you can be more loving and kind. So that now, if you gradually do this meditation daily, you'll notice that when you're around mom and dad, you'll be able to be more loving and kind. And that's what's going to transform your relationships. Oftentimes people think that when you have difficulties in your relationships, the way to change them is to change the other person. You might have done this. You might have spent time trying to change mom and dad or brothers and sisters or your life partner or people like this. But instead, the way that you improve your relationships is you got to change your own mind, so that way when you interact in your relationships, you'll be more loving and kind. So this meditation, you'll hear me go through these different rings. This is to cultivate more loving kindness in your mind. It's kind of like filling up your gas tank, so that then when you go out in the world, you can be more loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. And that's where the real transformation's occurring. So we'll go through all those different rings. Then we're going to go back to the breathing mindfulness meditation. And then we're going to go back to the chanting. And that's where we'll come out of the meditation. One of the ways that I think about it is kind of like a loving kindness sandwich, that you've got loving kindness in the middle. And then the lettuce and tomato on the outer edges are the breathing mindfulness meditation. And then the thing that's holding it all together, the bread, that's the chanting. So that's how our structure is going to be for this meditation. This particular meditation, you could do it in the seated, lying, and standing positions. There's also a walking position, but we don't normally do this meditation in the walking position, but those are the 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. So oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'll give you guys some guidance on this so that you can understand it. And then maybe you can find something that's even more comfortable than what you already have, because there's not just one fixed way to actually sit. You can sit however you like, whether you're on the floor or in a chair. Maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. If there was just one way to sit, that would be permanence, but we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world, and different people are going to find different things to be comfortable. So you sit however you're comfortable, but you can use what I'm sharing maybe as things to consider, as recommendations or suggestions, but you can use something that I'm sharing, or you can use something that you come up with on your own. It's really up to you. So if you're on the floor, you might be sitting with some cushions under your rear. That always helps to make it a bit softer. And then if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation in the lower body, and you like that to be able to flow so that you don't experience pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, again, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. And that's the same thing for anybody who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Sometimes people put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting here in a chair with my legs crossed, so this is an option as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with the upper body, your mind could be overactive or uptight. Meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. This is going to help you to be able to train the mind. So having the sternum up and shoulders back not only keeps the mind attentive and alert, but it also makes it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do this chanting to ease us into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the guidance throughout the meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakava Wat Tung Mahakavanang Apivateyami Sawakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato สาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสเอมะกะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these phrases in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May my family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who have caused me harm be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเขวาโหตังมหาเขวันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมรัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมรัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมทัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This is loving kindness meditation. This is going to help you to eliminate your anger, hatred, ill will, and all the lesser versions, frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike towards others. Right now, you might not have been so-called feeling the love. And that's the whole reason why it's important for you to do this meditation. That if it just felt like a bunch of empty words to you, then you really need to be doing this meditation regularly. And even if it didn't feel that way, even if you're just noticing that in your day-to-day life, you have a certain amount of anger and frustration or a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, hostility, this meditation is very important for you. Even if you have the slightest dislike towards others, you still have this pollution of anger, hatred, and ill will. We refer to it in the extreme like that because it's easy to understand. As you guys heard me share at the beginning, by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. There's no discontent feelings in the mind whatsoever. A big part of that is eliminating your anger, hatred, and ill will, and all those lesser versions, the frustration, agitation, annoyance, and all these other feelings, because it's no fun walking around with that kind of stuff. If you think about how you feel when you're angry, it doesn't feel good. It's not something that you would really necessarily enjoy. It's best to get rid of that so that you can get to a point where your mind is bright, cheerful, glad, and uplifted at all times. But you need to be able to understand what's causing these feelings, that it's not the outside world. Oftentimes people think that it's mom and dad that are making you angry and frustrated, or brothers and sisters, or maybe your boss is annoying you or frustrating you. This isn't actually true. You need to be able to peer into this and look at it and see the truth for yourself, that it's craving, desire, attachment that's causing this. This is the mind longing, yearning, wanting, and expecting things to be a certain way. The mind in the unenlightened state has a craving for permanence. It's like an unquenchable thirst, that if the mind gets what it wants, it gets happy or excited. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, it gets painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So for example, if you see it's sunny outside and you get really happy about that, well, when it rains, you're going to be sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling because the mind's craving permanence. It's craving that sun to be permanent. It's holding on to it. And it can only be happy when it's sunny outside. But when it changes, the mind doesn't like that. The mind doesn't understand the universal truth of impermanence. In the unenlightened state, it doesn't understand things are constantly changing around you. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll be sad or frustrated or annoyed or some other discontent feeling. The only thing that's happening here is change. It just went from sun to rain, and your bank account balance went from here to here. All that is change. But the mind doesn't understand that. The mind doesn't understand it lives in an impermanent world, that everything around you is constantly changing. The mind craves for things to be permanent. This is why when you got together with a boyfriend and girlfriend, when everything was going on at the beginning of the relationship, everything felt great and wonderful. But then when you guys broke up, you might have been angry or sad or frustrated or lonely or bored or missing this person. This wasn't your love or your care that was causing this. This is the mind holding on and craving permanence, wanting this relationship to be permanent, when in reality, this relationship was always impermanent, ever since the beginning. Even if you guys were together for the rest of your lives, more likely than not, one of you would have died first. This relationship was going to end someday. It was just a matter of time. But as long as the mind is holding on and craving permanence, it can only be happy when it gets what it wants. When it's not getting what it wants, it gets painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. Again, the mind is craving permanence. I'll give you a few more examples, and I'm going to open up for questions like I mentioned so that you guys can ask me whatever you like about the teachings of the Buddha. When we get to the point where it's time for questions, we have microphones in the middle of the room and a white bowl. All you need to do is come get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and you hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. Then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then for those of you guys that are online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom electronically, and then I'll be able to see that, and you can unmute your microphone, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll hear you throughout the live stream. So back to understanding your mind and why your mind is experiencing all these discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. It's being caused by the mind holding on, wanting things to be permanent while you live in an impermanent world. Think back to when we were children and we went to our parents and we said, "Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream?" They said, "Sure, here you go. Here's your chocolate and ice cream." You're like, "Thank you, Mommy and Daddy. You're the best Mommy and Daddy ever. Thank you so much for that chocolate and ice cream." And then the second day you said, "Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream?" They said, "Sure, here you go. Here's your chocolate and ice cream." "Thank you so much, Mommy and Daddy. That's the best chocolate and ice cream ever. You're the best parents." And then the third day came around and you said, "Mommy and Daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream?" And they said, "No." "You're the worst Mommy and Daddy ever." Right? This wasn't your parents that was causing this. This was the mind. It was craving permanence. It really wanted that chocolate and ice cream. The mind's doing the same thing with everything else where you're getting angry and sad and frustrated, is your mind's craving permanence. If you got a brand new car and you parked it at a store and you went inside and you came out and there's a scratch on your car and you get angry or frustrated, it's not the scratch that's causing that. And it's not the person who scratched your car. It's the mind craving permanence, that the mind's craving for this car to look permanently beautiful when it's not possible for the car to look permanently beautiful. It's going to get a scratch. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. This is just change. But your mind craves permanence. So you can see in these examples that I'm giving you that it's a craving for permanence that's causing the mind to experience these feelings. When the weather goes from sun to rain, there's no other person even involved here. It's not the outside world that's causing the mind to be angry. It's what's going on inside your own mind. Nobody can insert feelings into your mind. It's not possible. So, for example, if you went to the airport, so excited to come to Thailand, you just couldn't wait to get here. They have mango and sticky rice. They have massages and elephants and all these wonderful things to see and do. And you showed up to the airport and your flight was delayed or canceled. You might have been frustrated or angry. This is the mind craving permanence. The mind wants every airplane to take off on time, especially the ones you're on, right? But it's not possible because there's going to be a maintenance issue, a crew issue, there's going to be a weather issue, there's going to be delays and cancellations. If you fly enough, you're going to encounter delays and cancellations. It's just a matter of time. But the mind will sit there being angry and frustrated and think that it's the airline company that's causing it or some other thing. But it's your mind itself craving permanence, not understanding that you live in an impermanent world. So that breathing mindfulness meditation we were doing is training your mind to let go. The goal of that meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to train your mind to let go so you won't crave permanence. And that loving kindness meditation that we are doing is to rewire your mind to stop being bitter and harsh and hostile and aggressive, irritated and annoyed. Because as long as those feelings are coming up in your mind, your moral conduct will be unskillful. That when you're angry or frustrated or sad or any of these other discontent feelings, you might think it's the outside world that's causing that. And what you'll tend to do is push people away. This is called aversion. You might have pushed away friends or family out of your life. And you can see that didn't solve your problem because you still get angry, you still get sad, you still get frustrated. If this person was the true cause of your problem, when you push them away, you'd be peaceful from that point forward. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings is you might be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal, trying to fear them into doing things your way. Or the third thing you'll do is you'll tend to put expectations on people, trying to control them or pressure them or force them to do things your way. This is the mind trying to get its cravings fulfilled. It thinks if I can just get things my way, everything will be perfect. So if you keep pushing people away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile, and putting your expectations on people, you can't live harmoniously with all people. Because of impermanence, it's only a matter of time before people do things differently than you. There's only one person in the world who do things the same way as you all the time. Do you know who that one person is? Who's the one person who does things your way all the time? Yourself, right? So oftentimes people can only love people who do things their way. So if you can only love people who do things your way, there's only one person in the world that you could ever love. And you might actually have trouble doing that sometimes. From time to time, you might have trouble loving yourself. So this meditation is rewiring your mind to bring up the love and the kindness within your own mind so that now you can go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, speech, and actions. And the Buddha has teachings that help you to understand how to do that. That's not something that I'm sharing today unless you guys ask those questions. So I'm just going to stop here and see what questions you guys have. We can have as detailed of a discussion about the teachings of the Buddha as you guys would like. Anything you would like to discuss about the teachings of the Buddha, your own life, meditation, things that you're seeing here, anything that you need help with, you're welcome to ask those questions. Remember, if you could use the microphones here and then online, if you guys could put that into either Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or electronically raise your hand in Zoom and unmute your microphone. Are there any questions here? Anybody online would like to ask questions? Okay, it looks like someone has questions online here. See, it looks like Steve has questions. He has two questions. How often do you recommend incorporating the loving kindness meditation into our practice? If you're experiencing any kind of anger, hatred, or ill will, or even the slightest dislike in your mind, the slightest annoyance, you would like to be doing it every day. Out of your meditation practice, I recommend 2 or 3 sessions per day, and at least one of those should be loving kindness. And if you're doing loving kindness in the morning, it's really nice because you go out into your day with your mind full of loving kindness, and now it'll help you to be able to interact with people in a loving and kind way. That doesn't mean you couldn't do loving kindness in the afternoon or the evening. You surely can, but it's just that it kind of sets up your day really nice, because if you go out into the world being bitter and harsh and hostile to people, it's kind of like spewing oil all over the world. Like if an oil pipe busted and it was spewing oil all over the world, that's essentially what you're doing with your unwise moral conduct. So if you can do some loving kindness meditation in the morning, you can go out in your day with your mind full of loving kindness, and your intention, speech, and actions will tend to emanate from that. Now, this meditation that I did it in kind of a general and a broad way for all of us, because I'm leading all of you guys in a meditation, but you guys would like to customize this for yourself. So where I did like may mom and dad, may my friends, family, all those people, people who have hurt me or caused me harm, people who you have caused harm to, you would like to customize this. If you've got someone in your life named Bob or Susie or Rebecca who is either in your life or long in the past, you may not ever even see them again. They might actually be dead. If your mind's holding on to anger, hatred, and ill will, it's kind of like holding on to a hot coal and trying to burn somebody else. Sometimes people feel like by holding on to their resentment, their grudge, it's getting back at the other person. It's actually not. It's actually harming your own mind, because as long as that anger and hatred is in your mind, it's just plaguing your mind, and it's coming out in other situations with other people too. So you can do this meditation at any time during the day, but it really sets you up nice in the morning that you can uproot some of this anger and hatred, but you would like to customize this for your specific needs. So it might be, may Bob be peaceful. Right? May Bob be safe, well, and free of discontentedness. And that's going to help you to rewire your mind. Now, when you guys heard me say, may all those who have caused me harm be peaceful, and may all those who I have caused harm to. As you guys have heard me share, you can't cause someone else to be discontent. Just like no one else can cause you to be discontent. If you're angry and frustrated or any of these other discontent feelings, it's coming from your own mind. The same thing's true that other people are causing their discontentedness too. They might not realize that, they might not know that, but they are causing their own anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings. You can't cause someone else to be angry or frustrated, but you can cause them harm. Causing someone harm is to cause harm to their physical body, their material possessions, or their reputation. Anytime you put out harm is going to come back to you. So you would like to get to the point where you're not causing harm. And that's what the Buddha teaches you as part of awakening to the wisdom of the natural laws, is that you're cultivating wisdom about these natural laws of cause and effect, or action and result, understanding what is it that would cause harm to others, so that way you no longer cause harm and harm won't come back to you. And this loving kindness meditation will help you to implement that and bring that into your life more and more. Steve also asked, can you describe the significance of starting with individual and progressing to the universal, ending with all beings? I'm curious how this progression compares to just focusing on all beings with the start and finish. Because what this does is it actually, by starting with I, you're starting with yourself, because oftentimes people have a negative self-talk. They have a diminishing or degrading dialogue within your own mind. If you tend to do that to yourself, that's because you don't have loving kindness and compassion for yourself. You need to cultivate that in your mind. So if you're walking around with negative self-talk and degrading, diminishing inner dialogue, that's no fun. That's not going to help you to be able to create a wonderful life and a successful life for yourself. So this meditation will help you to rewire your mind towards yourself, that you have more kind and loving thoughts towards yourself. And it's not going to be instantaneous. It's not like taking a medicine and 30 minutes later, you've got no headache, right? It's not like you do this meditation once and then tomorrow you're not going to have any anger and hatred. It's gradually wearing this away. So you start with yourself and then you go progressively through these different rings, because there's certain beings in your life that you currently have anger and hatred towards, and you need to be able to eradicate that, whether it's your coworkers, your family members, life partner, people like this. As long as you allow that to stay in the mind, it's just hindering you from being able to have wonderful relationships. And then ultimately you get to all beings. If you only did just all beings like you're asking about, you're not doing it specific enough to really target what's going on in your mind and rewire this. So this is going to help you to rewire all of this and get to the point where you can be loving and kind and warm and gentle, because you can actually get to a point where you have 100% harmonious relationships in your life. Right now, if you don't have that, that's okay. That's where you're at. But you can get to the point where that's not the case. But oftentimes people are holding on to relationships that otherwise would be wise to end and move on. Or you're having difficulties in certain relationships because you're wanting and expecting people to be a certain way in your relationships, and they're not doing things your way. And now you're angry or frustrated in those relationships. And oftentimes we think the way to solve this is to try to change mom and dad or change brothers and sisters or people like this. But this is never going to fix your anger and frustration, because you can't train 8 billion people in the world to do things your way. It's just not possible. So this meditation is going to help you get to the point where you understand more and more to practice unconditional love. Right now, oftentimes in the unenlightened state, people don't understand what unconditional love is. If you're falling in love with people and out of love with people, you actually don't know what love is yet, because you can't fall in love and out of love if you understand what love is. So if you guys would like to ask about that, you're more than welcome. I'll explain to you guys what unconditional love is, because until you're practicing unconditional love, you won't be able to experience unconditional love in your life. You're not going to be able to experience that. And this is where it can become very frustrating in your relationships, because maybe you and the people around you aren't practicing unconditional love. But until you understand what it is and you're practicing it, you're not going to be able to experience it. So that's why you need to do specific people, Steve, so that you can actually go in and almost surgically remove the anger, hatred, and ill will towards specific beings, whether they're currently in your life or even if they're long in the past, even if they're dead. If your mind's holding on to any kind of anger or hatred, it's going to hinder you from being able to have harmonious relationships. Question? Yep.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. They're not really related, so I'll ask the first one. Is it common to get into some sort of inaction or paralysis because now you're questioning about any path you're supposed to take? As far as, say, providing for a family, well, I have to go to work, I have to go hard, I want to be successful. So then ego comes in, which is driving me to be successful in order to provide for my family and make sure, because, just make sure they're taken care of, right? But then you question, is that ego? Will that come with its own pitfalls as I'm striving and then hinder my progress or take me away from the path?
Yeah, so what the unenlightened mind typically will do, and it can see very clearly, is either chasing, or it'll swing to the other side, or it'll be dull and lethargic or just indecisive about what to actually do, right? So the mind needs to come to the middle where you can gradually work towards your goals, objectives, or interests with ambition, with enthusiasm, with motivation. But the mind has to figure this out. It can't just let go of craving and go right to the middle. It's going to overshoot it. So if you've been craving a lot, which is what all unenlightened beings do, and you're starting to knock that down, it's not uncommon to swing to the other side and start to be indecisive. And now you start realizing, this isn't peaceful. This isn't where I'd like to be. And then the mind starts moving back towards the middle, but it'll overshoot it again and it'll start craving, but not as much as it was before, but it'll start craving. And it's almost like a pendulum, and you eventually kind of narrow in on that middle. And the more that you dedicate to practicing the Eightfold Path, that core central teaching, I don't know if you've learned that with me yet or not. I know I've seen you here many times, but I'm just not sure if you've learned that particular teaching, that's if you practice that regularly, that's what's going to knock down the pollution and get you to the point where more and more you can find this middle and you can stay there.
Great, thanks. The other one is more of so when I've been to the temples and stuff, I wonder if there's any symbology behind. It might be a Hinduism reference or whichever, but a lot of the meditating or Buddhas or those people, they have the snakes behind their head, and a lot of them have like 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that symbolism of any of the teachings that they're stripping from their mind or anything like that?
So each one of these statues, they typically represent a lifetime, or a point in time during the lifetime of the Buddha. And if you understand his lifetime and what he did during his life, they will typically represent that time frame in his life. The Buddha never taught anybody to make a statue out of him. In fact, all these statues that you see, it doesn't even look like the Buddha. If you see the image that I use here, this is actually an artwork done from the original teachings of the Buddha, what he looked like during his lifetime. He just looked like a human being. He wore rag robes and he shaved his hair. He didn't have a crown on his head and do all these other things or wear all these other things that people usually depict him as wearing. So he didn't teach to make statues of him. He didn't teach to worship these statues or anything like that. But you see people doing this. But nonetheless, I look at statues because they're beautiful. They're artwork, right? It's just like something interesting to be able to remind you of the life of the Buddha. So the one that you see where he's meditating and has the big snake behind him, this is representing a time frame that's described during his life. I don't know whether it's true or false, but I'll explain it to you. It sounds a little bit outlandish to me, but nonetheless, people tend to create stories about an individual like the Buddha in order to kind of harness a certain teaching. And if you understand the teaching, that's what's important. Whether this story actually occurred or not doesn't matter. It's the teaching that you need to understand. So the story is that during the lifetime of the Buddha, prior to him being enlightened, while he was still training his mind, so he was not yet a Buddha, he was in the forest meditating, and he was meditating by himself. And as he was meditating, it started raining, and it was pouring down raining, and the forest started to flood, and the water was coming up higher and higher and higher on his body, and he was really deep in meditation, not aware that it was flooding, the forest was flooding. And the story is that there's this snake that knew that he was going to become a Buddha, and having a Buddha in the world is one of the best things or the best thing that could ever happen for the entire world, because that individual would be able to share the teachings to help many people get to enlightenment. So this snake, being interested in having a Buddha in the world, coiled itself underneath of the Buddha, lifted him up out of the water, and then used the hood of his body in order to shield him from the water. So I've never seen a snake that is that intelligent that would be able to do that, right? But scientists tell us that 99% of all the animals that once existed no longer exist in the world. The animals that we see only represent 1% of the animals that once existed. So I wasn't there. I don't know. I can't say whether it's true or false. But the moral of the story is that it's wise to be really deep in meditation and unaffected by impermanence. So if you're at your house meditating and you hear your neighbor's baby crying, don't be affected by that. That's just impermanence. Stay focused on the breath and continue to meditate. Or if you hear sirens outside and the police are going by and they go by, you don't need to be disturbed by that, right? Or if you're here meditating and the door to the classroom is opening and closing, or people are coming in and out, train your mind to get to the point where you're unaffected by all this impermanence. Now, obviously, if there's something that is life-threatening going on in the environment, you would like to be aware of that and take action, right? So when you're in meditation, you'll be aware that somebody is walking past, for example, in the classroom, or somebody has just sneezed, or somebody, the dog is barking. You'll be aware of those things, but don't allow it to disturb your mind where you're experiencing annoyance or frustration or agitation. That's what you would like to ultimately get to. So you'll be aware of these kinds of things. So I suspect if it was truly flooding the forest, the Buddha would have been aware of that, right? And he would have made decision to leave. So the moral of the story, though, is to not allow any impermanence to affect you during meditation and during your daily life, too, because that's all you're experiencing. You know, when you're walking down the street and it's hot, or, you know, whatever's happening in your life, maybe you're sitting at a traffic light and someone pulls up to you with some music, you know, if you don't like that music, that's because of your craving, right? You have a longing, yearning. You need to be able to just see that it's an impermanent situation, that music is something that person likes, and you're not going to like every single type of music. that would be permanence. There's going to be certain musics that you prefer and certain music that you don't. And if this person pulls up to you with a music that you don't particularly listen to, okay, no big deal. It's an impermanent situation. The light's going to turn green. They're going to go on. And then, 3 minutes later, you're not listening to the music anymore. No need to be upset or frustrated by it. So the mind in the unenlightened state craves permanently agreeable contact. And you need to get to the point where you're unaffected by impermanence. And that's what that story helps you to be able to know. Mm-hmm. Could you get a mic so the people online can hear you? That way the people online will be able to hear you. You just need to press the button and then the lights come on. Yeah, just press that button. Give it a second. It's a Buddhist microphone. You have to be patient with
it. Yeah. I saw a lot of elephant during the temple visit. How does it relate to the Buddha story?
Okay, so whenever you see animals around Buddhist things, what this is helping you to be able to do is remind you that you are in the human world and you're no longer in the animal world. In the animal world, you actually can't get to enlightenment from that existence. You need to either be in a human existence or a heavenly existence in order to be able to get to enlightenment. So this is a way of teaching you to not be complacent. Don't allow this human existence to go to waste, that you've made it to the human world. This is the best thing that could ever happen for you. Apply effort and energy and dedication to learning and growing and developing to get to enlightenment. Because getting to enlightenment, your mind will be completely peaceful and joyful, and there's all kinds of benefits that are going to help you to be able to live a wonderful life. But if you allow your life to go to waste and be complacent, then you're not going to experience that. You're going to be stressed and have anxiety and frustration and all these other feelings for the rest of your life. So you'll see statues of animals, all different types of animals, but you'll also see real live animals at a temple too a lot of times. And this is reminding you of, thank goodness you're human. Don't allow this life to go to waste. Apply motivation, dedication, and determination to get to enlightenment. Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, there's some people behind you. I have a question. It's already on, actually.
Okay. My question is about meditations. If I start beginning the meditation, when I was thinking about people who hurt me before, I was imagining in my mind I'm trying to embrace them or something, but during that time I will feel super painful about that. So should I just trying to get some effort, let my anger go, or should I just respect my represent emotion, just let the emotion fluid in my body?
So all the emotion is in your mind. There's no ability for emotion to be inside the body. If you're feeling something in your body, this is a bodily sensation that is coming from the mind. The mind is like the CPU of the computer. It's the central processing unit. And then the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor is just functioning because of the central processing unit. So your mind, which isn't the brain is the physical organ. The mind is non-physical. It's intangible. That's what you're training, is your mind. But it has an effect to the brain, of course. So as your mind is experiencing certain contact, now it'll experience either pleasant feelings, painful feelings, or neither painful nor pleasant. And you can notice physical sensations, bodily sensations in the body, but it's not the emotion itself. It's just like with anger, it might be tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. This is like an early warning system alerting you that you're about to get angry or frustrated. And the Buddha teaches you to cut off and let go of that thought and that feeling as a bodily sensation. You're not repressing or suppressing your feelings. You're actually cutting it off before it becomes a feeling. So when you're noticing that, that is the indication that you're about to get angry. And this meditation, the loving kindness meditation, is what's going to help you rewire that, because you won't get rid of that by continuing to turn away from it. It's kind of like, sweeping the dust under the carpet. What you're doing is you're peeling back the carpet, and now the dust is starting to fly, and you got to get it out of the house because it's going to start making you cough. So when you say, like for example, I used to have a lot of resentment, hostility towards my mom because I had all these expectations for her and the way I wanted her to be. And of course, she was never going to be that way because she's her own person, right? So when I used to do this meditation, I used to do, may mom be peaceful, safe, well, and so forth. and I'd get really angry because it remind me of things that happened from our childhood. But I had to confront that. Each one of those meditations, after the meditation, I had to confront that and realize that, hey, mom is not going to meet my expectations. She was doing things the way that she was able to do things based on either the wisdom or lack of wisdom that she had at the time. And I just need to be appreciative that she gave me this life and that she helped me to what she could do. So this loving kindness meditation is going to, in some cases, kind of trigger some of those memories that you have. And you might notice the frustration coming up. That's why we do the breathing mindfulness meditation at the end of the meditation, to be able to cut off and let go, cut off and let go, cut off and let go. But even still, after the meditation, you can be left with some painful feelings. But those painful feelings are coming from your own mind, and you'll never actually eliminate them if you don't confront them. So oftentimes when we feel something uncomfortable in the unenlightened state, we want to run away from it. We want to push it away and get away from it because the mind doesn't want to feel that particular feeling. So you'll never actually cultivate wisdom and eliminate those discontent feelings by running away from a challenge or a struggle. You actually need to turn around and walk towards it. So this meditation is putting the mind in a situation that it doesn't want to be in. What the mind wants to do is hold on to this anger. It wants to be bitter and harsh and hostile. In my case, towards mom, it didn't want to let go. And now when the person, right, because there's the body, there's the mind, the combination of these two things we call a person. The person is saying, hey, mind, we're going to be doing some loving kindness meditation here. We're going to think about loving and kind thoughts about mom. And the mind's like, no, I want to be angry. I want to hold on to this resentment. I don't want to be loving and kind towards mom. And the person's like, hey, we got to get this anger out of here. So the mind's going to try to revolt and try to kind of protest, and try to fight you and not want to let go of that anger. But this is the meditation that you need to do. And you're confronting that and training the mind like, hey, get with the program here. We're going to be more loving and kind to the people around us. And that's something that the person is choosing to do. And the mind oftentimes acts like a 3-year-old kid, and it doesn't want to do it. So you just need to keep applying dedication and determination to keep training this mind and getting it disciplined so that you can control it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. My question is really specific. I live and work in Beijing, and therefore pace is like really fast in my city. So I often feel the tension after work. To be honest, I don't hate my job. I would say I'm pretty good at it, but sometimes I'm just helped by those negative feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So after work, sometimes I will indulge myself with some sweets and chocolate. But my body tells me I want a permanent health, but I'm always struggling between the desire to maintain a healthy body, or should I calm myself with something like junk food, like chocolate sweets.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the whole reason why the mind is experiencing the stress and anxiety at the end of work is because you have craving, desire, attachment. The mind is craving, wanting, and expecting things to be a certain way at work. And if they're that way, you feel happy, you feel excited. But if things aren't that way, you'll feel angry, frustrated, stressed, or anxiety, because the mind craves this permanence. And when you're at work, there's many different people involved, and you can't get things your way all the time. So when you go to work and everything's going your way, it's like, wow, that was such a good day. Yay. But if you go to work and things aren't going your way, you'll feel frustrated or angry or stressed or having anxiety. So the whole reason why you don't feel good at the end of work is because of craving, desire, attachment. That's why the painful feelings are there. But because the mind lacks wisdom in the unenlightened state, that it's craving, desire, attachment that's causing those painful feelings, it actually turns to another craving, desire, attachment that it can fulfill in order to get to the pleasant feelings. That's why you're turning to the chocolate and the sweets, because the mind thinks, if I can get what I want, if I can get that sweet flavor on my tongue, I'll get what I want. And now I'll get the pleasant feelings, right? This is just like someone coming from a hard day at work and turning to alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling. It's the same kind of thing. it's the same underlying cause, which is craving, desire, attachment. But in your case, it's sweets, it's candy and sweet cakes or things like that. So the last thing you're interested in doing is using a craving to get away from another craving in terms of the painful feelings. So if you're down in the painful feelings of stress and anxiety, the mind feels uncomfortable with that, and it wants to get back to something that feels somewhat comfortable. And the only thing it knows how to do in the unenlightened state, because of its lack of wisdom, is to crave something. So you need to be able to see this cycle that you're stuck in, that your mind is craving something, you're going to work, it's not happening, you're ending up in painful feelings. And now when you're in the painful feelings, the mind tries to crave something else in order to get to the pleasant feelings. But all of this is temporary, and the mind's just going up and down, up and down, up and down. So instead, what you've got to do is train the mind to eliminate the initial cravings that cause the painful feelings to begin with. Whatever you went to work with this longing, yearning, and this craving, this desire, you've got to eliminate those so you don't end up in the painful feelings any longer. So there's a path that the Buddha taught. It's called the Eightfold Path. I'll show this to you guys because it's a core central teaching of the Buddha. This is what you actually need to learn. Anybody who's interested in getting to enlightenment based in the teachings of the Buddha would need to know this inside and out, backwards and forwards, left, right, up, down. And there's words of the Buddha behind this. This is just an image, but behind this, there's actually teachings that are going to help you to understand your mind and how your mind functions so that then you can actually transform it. It takes me about 2.5 hours to teach this. I teach it every month, multiple times a month, and I record it. It's on YouTube, it's on our podcast, it's in our books, it's in our audiobooks. You can learn it. And then as you gradually practice it, your mind won't turn to the sweets in order to get pleasant feelings. By the time you get to enlightenment, you might still eat sweets, but it's not for emotional reasons. That's what the mind does in the unenlightened state. But by the time you get to enlightenment, you might still have chocolate or candy or something like this, but it's just something you enjoy. It's not based in conditioned pleasant feelings. So the mind needs to learn how to do this, and it's this teaching that's going to help you to do it.
Thank you, sir. I've got another question. You mentioned unconditional love before. I was wondering, what is unconditional love?
Okay.
Could you be more specific?
Sure. So in the unenlightened state, with our lack of wisdom, we will think that we're falling in love with people and out of love with people. So what this is actually craving, desire, attachment. What the mind does is it thinks maybe you meet somebody and maybe you're attracted to them physically or intellectually. Maybe you're attracted to their finances and their money. Maybe you're attracted to what they can do for you. Maybe you're attracted to their social position and where they are in society, and you have some kind of attraction to them. And now you start spending time with this person and you get to know them. And early on in the relationship, you have very minimal expectations. You're just interested in getting to know this person. And that means that they're meeting your expectations because you have very little expectations. You're just getting to know this person. And now as you get to know them after a few weeks or a few months, you might say to them, I've fallen in love with you. And they say, oh my gosh, I've fallen in love with you too. Oh, we're in love. We're now in love, right? And now you guys treat each other well. You do things nicely with each other. Maybe you're having conversations. Maybe you're going out to the park, to the movies, to dinner. You might even be having sex and intimate contact. And everything's going so wonderful at the beginning of the relationship because the expectations are very minimal. You don't want anything from this person. But then over time, as the relationship goes on, you start having these higher and higher expectations. You start wanting things from them, and they can't do the things you want all the time. And you can't do all the things they want either. So now you guys become angry and frustrated at each other, and you break up and you say, I don't love you anymore. And now you might get angry and frustrated. You start treating this person poorly, right? Well, this isn't love. This is craving, desire, attachment. There's no such thing as conditional love, but we might call it conditional love. That if you do things my way, I will say I love you. I will act like I love you. I will function like I love you. I would do things like I love you. But as soon as you stop doing things my way, I don't love you anymore. All bets are off. I'm not treating you like I love you anymore, right? So that's not love. That's actually the craving, desire, attachment. That's the wants and expectations, where the mind can only treat this person lovingly if they do things your way. This is selfishness. So again, there's no such thing as conditional love, but we might call that conditional love. That if you meet my conditions, I will say I love you, I will function like I love you, and I will do things like I love you. But when you stop doing things my way, nope, I don't love you anymore. This isn't actually love, okay? That's the selfishness. What you would like to get to is unconditional love, where you love beings unconditionally, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for you to have love for them. What love is a genuine interest in seeing them be well. That you don't want anything from them. You don't expect anything from them. You're not trying to control them. You're not trying to pressure them. You're not trying to make them do things your way. Instead, you understand the universal truth of impermanence, that the world is constantly changing and we're not going to do things the same. Everybody does things differently, and that's okay. It's up to each person to decide for themselves what they would like to do. So if you can separate the choices and decisions that people make from the person themselves, you can disagree with their choices and decisions while still loving the person, right? Let me ask a question. Is there anybody here that agreed 100% with everything your parents ever did in your life? Anybody at all? Did you agree with your parents 100% of the time? No, I've never seen anybody raise their hand ever. And the reason why is because we're all different people. Right? But if we can only love people who do things our way, we can only love ourselves, because there's only one person in the world that does things our way, and that's ourself. And like I shared, you might actually have difficulties loving yourself sometimes because you're putting expectations on yourself and you're not always meeting your expectations. So you got to separate the choices and decisions from the person themselves, right? So now you can love the person, meaning you have a genuine interest in seeing them be well. And part of loving someone is to not put your expectations on them. But that's not the way that we typically grow up. We grow up with our parents putting expectations on us and trying to control us and pressure us to do things their way. And we think that that's love. And your parents probably think that's love too. But that's not actually the love. That's their craving, desire, attachment. They're trying to get happy by putting expectations on us and trying to force us to do things their way. It's the same thing with your chocolate and your sweets. Your mind's getting the pleasant feelings because you're getting what you want. So the parents are doing the same thing, right? So we grow up in the world with boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, parents who are constantly putting expectations on us. And if we do things their way, they will say, I love you, and I will act like I love you. But as soon as you stop doing things their way, they're going to be angry and bitter and hostile and harsh, right? And that's what your mind has learned. That is, when people do things your way, you're nice and friendly and kind with them. But when they don't do things your way, you're frustrated and angry and irritated with them. That's the craving, desire, attachment. That's the wants and expectations, the mind craving permanence, where what you would like to get to is where you have unconditional love and you understand that, of course, everybody does things differently. Some people sit in a chair. Some people sit on the floor. Some people sit on the wall. Some people stay while I'm talking. Some people get up and leave. Some people go to the bathroom. Some people start over here and now they're standing in the back, right? This is just all impermanence, right? This is just all change. But if we have an expectation of how everybody has to do things, and that's the only way we can love them, then you can't love everybody. So to get to unconditional love, you've got to separate the choices and decisions that people make from the person themselves and realize you can disagree with their choices and decisions while still having a genuine interest in seeing them be well. And now you can love everybody, no matter what decisions they make. And because you didn't fall in love with this person, there's nothing they did to earn your love. There's no way you can fall out of love with them. So that's why I love every single one of you. I loved you before I met you. I have a genuine interest in seeing you be well. That's why I woke up this morning. I took a shower. I brushed my teeth. I came here and I decided to start sharing the teachings of the Buddha with you because I love you. I would like to see you be well. I don't want anything from you. I don't expect anything from you. If you would like to come here and stay the whole time I talk, wonderful. If you'd like to get up and leave, that's your choice. I love you as you are. I'm not trying to control you or pressure you or make any kind of expectations of you. And now I can just love you as you are. And that's what you would like to get to with each relationship, whether it's your life partner, your children, your parents, that you understand that they're going to do things differently than you, and that's okay. And you can still love them, meaning you have a genuine interest in seeing them be well.
But sometimes they are doing bad, and I have this expectation for them to like get back to the right track.
Mm-hmm.
So is it right for me to think in this way? Because I saw them, they were doing bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your idea of good and bad is based on your perceptions of the world. And your ego will make you think that you're right and everyone else is wrong. When in reality, your way of doing things isn't the right way necessarily. It may be right for you, but it might not be right for someone else. So when you impose your expectations on others, that because you want it done this way and they're not doing it my way, then now your mind is going to think that what they're doing is bad because they're not doing it your way. But you need to understand there's more than one way to do things in the world. There's not just one way to do things. But your ego is going to tell you your way is the right way and everyone else is the wrong way. And now if they don't do it my way, they're doing it bad. So aspiring for people to do things in a certain way, there's no harm with that. Like my son, I would like to see him get good grades. He's 13 years old. I'd like to see him get good grades. But it's when I start trying to force him and control him and put my expectations on him, that's where things are problematic. Instead, I need to talk to him. I need to guide him. I need to coach him. I need to teach him how to do things in a wise way. And then step back and let him make the decisions that he thinks is best for his own life. Because I'm just here as a parent, as a guide. He's not my son. He doesn't belong to me. He is his own being, and he gets to make his own decisions. I'm like an advisor in his life. And now I advise him and teach him and guide him, but I'm not imposing my expectations that you have to do it this way or else, and I don't love you, and I'm going to yell and holler and scream at you. Instead, it's like, hey, you've got this grade. It doesn't look so good. Don't you think you should get that up? It's not wise to have that low grade. You could actually do better than this. I'm sure you can do better than this. What is it that led to you getting this grade? What can you do to improve it? Right? All I need to do is talk to him and advise him and guide him, help him to think about things that he's not currently thinking about himself. And now he'll make improved decisions when he cultivates that wisdom. So don't think about what other people are doing as good or bad. It's just their choice. And whatever choice they make, it affects them. And people are never going to do things your way 100%. So if mom or dad are doing things differently than what you choose to do it, it's their life, it's their decisions, and it's their results. You can advise them, you can suggest to them, but it's when you start trying to put expectations on them and control them that it's going to get in the way of a harmonious relationship with you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have a microphone right there in the bowl. Mm-hmm.
Continue on that. Let's say somebody is doing things which are outright wrong, which is not, the one which Tathagata himself said, like Panatipata, Adinnadana, Kamesu Michachara, Sura Meraya Majjapamada Taveramani. In that case, this logic would not hold correct, right? That it is my view or somebody else's.
I can't hear you. I think the mic went out. Is it still working? Okay, there you go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we come to actions, and if we say that it is my view or somebody else's, but there are some things which are outright wrong, like Panatipata, Adinnadana, Kamesu Michachara.
Can you speak in English so that I can understand?
Yes. Like some actions which Buddha himself said that they are wrong, meaning they are not right, they cannot be justified. Pata is killing another human being or another being. Adinnadana is stealing. Kamesu Michachara, the English translation would be sexual misconduct. Sura Mera Majjapamada Taveramani is again
Okay.
So those actions which are not open for debate, like in a sense that it's not my view or his view, it's comes under wrong view in the Noble Eightfold Path, right? So
Yeah. So let me help you, because your mind's trying to look at things as black and white. And that's the permanence that the mind can see. Yeah, if you could turn that off, we won't get feedback through the mic. So your mind is looking at things as black and white. And this is the permanence that the mind craves in the unenlightened state, that it's craving permanence. There's no black and white here. So let's just take the first example that you mentioned about killing a human being, okay? If you go out into the world actively seeking out to kill a human being, there's a certain amount of craving, anger, and what we call ignorance in the mind. But let's just say you're in your home and now somebody breaks in at 2 a.m. in the morning and you're there, you need to protect this being who you are. You might actually have to kill this being in order to stop this harm coming from you. So it's not black and white the way that your mind is wanting it to think. Instead of thinking about right and wrong, the way that the Buddha talked about this is wise and unwise, or wholesome and unwholesome. And you right now in the present state, you're not making 100% wise decisions. There's certain situations where you make unwise decisions, and it's leading to unwholesome results for you, because that's what the unenlightened mind does. So if you cast your expectation that another person should make 100% wise decisions when you yourself aren't even making 100% wise decisions, this is just your conceit. This is your judgment, looking down on this person, putting yourself above them, and trying to dictate what this other person should or shouldn't be doing. That's unwise. It's coming from the mind's arrogance and ego. It's called conceit in the 10 fetters. So instead, you get rid of that. And instead of judging other people and putting expectations on people of what they should or shouldn't do, instead, you focus on your own practice. You focus on your own wise decision making. If brothers and sisters are making unwise decisions, that's on them. That's their life. That's their decisions and their results. If it's affecting you, then you just distance yourself from that relationship and choose to no longer participate in that activity. But that's not going to solve your discontentedness, your anger, your frustration, choosing to go away from the relationship. That by itself isn't what's going to get you to peace and joy. You need to eliminate your expectation that everybody will do things a certain way. And it starts with yourself. You got to be able to recognize that you yourself don't do things 100% accurately and wisely all the time. So therefore, why would you impose this expectation on other people to do it your way when you're not doing things 100%? So what the Buddha is teaching you is not about to go out into the world and judge other people, whether they're doing things wise or unwise. He's teaching you to improve your moral conduct, among other things. So that's what's going to get you to peace and joy, not by having expectations on others.
but I think you answered my question. If we see
It's on.
answered my question, that if question was, if we see somebody doing something which is outright wrong, like let's say some friend who is doing involves into killing, but you answered it in a way that you distance yourself from it. That yes, you do not want to continue with that in a, not judging him, but because it is going to affect your practice if you spend more time with that person. So yes, distancing is probably the best way.
But you haven't fully understood. What I'm teaching you is to not hold on to the expectation of things of being right and wrong. As long as you hold on to that, you're seeing the world as black and white, and that's not going to lead you to peace and joy. Because as long as you're seeing things as right and wrong, that right and wrongness is based on your own perception and your own conceit. So you need to get to the point where you're not seeing it that way, that you understand what's wise for this being who you are, but you're not imposing that on other people and expecting them to make decisions in the same way as you, because that's going to lead to your discontentedness. And you'll never get to peace and joy by imposing your expectations on others of what you think is right or wrong for them.
No, I'm not talking about expecting. I'm just talking about how to deal with, because Buddha himself says there are right actions and there are samma ditti sankappo vacha kammanto. There are samma kammanto and there are mithya kammanto. We cannot say these actions are because my perception are. There are some samma actions which, and by the way, I want to attend when you take that Noble Eightfold Path next time. But he himself says samma kammanto is there, which is probably samadhitti kammanto, fourth step of the Noble Eightfold Path. So we cannot say that the mithya kammanto are the wrong actions are, because he himself are saying these are the right actions and these are the wrong actions. So
what's currently in your mind is not 100% the truth. That's what I'm explaining to you. That when you're saying this is the right actions, these are the wrong actions, that's not what the Buddha taught. You're misunderstanding. Okay. And because your mind is not yet enlightened, you know that you don't fully understand yet. Because if you fully understand, your mind would be enlightened. You would experience complete peace and joy. But because you still experience anger and frustration and stress and anxiety and all these other feelings, you can know that your mind isn't fully wise to what the Buddha was sharing. So while right now in your mind, you think that the Buddha taught this is right and this is wrong, and that's what your mind's holding on to, that's going to hinder you from getting to peace and joy, because that's not how the Buddha taught. While we call this right speech, right action, right livelihood, and so forth, a better way to think about this is wise speech or wise action. It's righteous action, meaning based on the natural laws. So the Buddha never taught this black and white or this absolute world of black and white. There's this large gray area in the middle, and that's the part that your mind is having difficulties in seeing right now. And as long as you don't understand that, you'll continue to hold on to this right and wrong. And then when people are doing things what you consider to be wrong, you will get angry and frustrated. And that's where I'm teaching you that that's not what's going to lead to your peace and joy. You need to be able to see that the Buddha did teach wise actions that are going to produce wholesome results for you, but it's only you that are going to be able to see all those variables in your life and make those wise decisions. When you're looking at someone else's life and you say they're doing wrong things or they're doing even unwise things, well, you don't know that because you don't know 100% of all the variables of what's going on in their life. As soon as you try to impose what you think is right or wrong for other people, that's your conceit. That's the ego. And that's going to hinder you from being able to have loving relationships with everybody. So you've got to set aside the ego and realize that you don't know someone else's life 100%, and you can't make the choice for yourself of whether their decisions are right or wrong, because it's their decisions and you don't know 100% of the variables in all those situations. And that's going to get you to peace and joy, because you understand whatever decisions that they make, they're experiencing the results of. Whether it's wise or unwise, they're going to experience either wholesome or unwholesome results. Your role isn't to tell other people what they should or shouldn't do. It's to focus on your decisions and make sure that your decisions are wise.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yes. If you could get the mics, that would be helpful for the people online.
I would like to discuss the example you gave to us, like when you were 3 years old, your parents gave you ice cream and chocolate for the first 2 days, and you feel happy and the satisfaction. But on the third day, they stop giving you or serve you the meat you need. You feel angry and frustration, right? So it sounds like that what you're saying is like it is wrong to feel angry and frustration. And so what should the three children think in the right way? That's my first question. And the second question
Let me answer the first one first. I just do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So again, you guys have got to get away from the right and wrong. You haven't heard me say that at all. So I'm not saying that anger is wrong, right? You never hear me say that. But as long as you have anger in your mind, you're not going to be able to be permanently peaceful and permanently joyful. And that anger is coming from your own mind. And when you have anger, your mind is all shaken up and you're going to tend to make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results in your life. So anger is not something that you need to experience. You can actually get to the point where you eliminate your anger. But the mind doesn't know how to do this in the unenlightened state because it lacks wisdom. So you never hear me say anger is wrong, but it is unwise to continue to allow the mind to have anger and stay wired with anger. Because when your mind is uncalm, you won't have mindfulness or awareness of mind. When you don't have awareness of mind, you won't have concentration or focus and clarity. And when you don't have focus and clarity, you can't access your wisdom and make wise decisions. So for example, if someone called you up and said, your mom's been in a terrible car accident, she's being rushed to the hospital in the back of an ambulance. If your mind was craving for mom to be permanently healthy, not understanding that mom is impermanent, your mind will be all shaken up. Grab your car keys, run across town, trying to hurry up and get to the hospital, and maybe you'll even get into a car accident yourself, right? So when your mind's uncalm, you can't access your wisdom and making wise decisions because you don't have mindfulness and concentration. But when you can maintain your calmness and composure, your equanimity in your mind, when you hear that mom's in the back of an ambulance, you can be like, thank goodness. That's the best place for her. She's been in a car accident. She's got emergency medical technicians taking care of her. Perfect. She's about to arrive to a hospital with sophisticated equipment, doctors and nurses. Outstanding. Let me make my way to the hospital and remain calm so that when I get there, I can talk to the doctors and nurses and I can make some wise decisions to help her. So having your mind angry or shaken up with discontentedness, these conditioned feelings, doesn't do anything to help you in life. So that anger is not helpful in any way whatsoever. But I would never label it as right or wrong. That's not the way that a person thinks who understands these teachings and have trained in these teachings very well. That you don't think of the world as black and white. That's not the way you think of it. It's not wrong to have anger. It's just a result of the mind having craving, desire, attachment, that it will have anger. As long as there's craving, desire, attachment in the mind, it will have anger. It will experience that discontent feeling, and it will produce unwise decisions. So what the Buddha is guiding you to do is get to the point where those causes and conditions that are producing the anger have been eliminated. So then you don't need to experience it anymore. But that's what an unenlightened being will experience, is the anger. But don't think of it as right and wrong. That would be unwise for you to do that, because now you think something's wrong with me because you experience anger. There's nothing wrong. It's just that the mind has craving, desire, attachment, and that's why it's experiencing anger. Instead, it's just unwise to have this anger in the mind because it's going to motivate unwise decisions and produce unwholesome results.
So back to the first question. The children who feel frustrated and angry is unwise according to your phrase. So what is the wise way to process that? Because the desire still exists, because the desire for the ice cream and chocolate still exists.
Mm-hmm.
So should he eliminate his desire to kill his mind, or like I stop wanting this thing so I can feel peaceful? Or there is another way to feel. It's like I still want this thing, but doesn't fit my feeling, but I still can feel joy and peaceful.
Right. So when you get rid of your craving, desire, attachments, where you can only be happy when you get what you want, when you get rid of that, you can actually be happy all the time. So yes, the wise thing to do would be to eliminate the longing, the yearning, the chasing, the wanting, the expecting things to be a certain way. Because in that situation, you can only be happy when you get what you want. So if the weather is this, if my mom and dad do this, if my boss does this, if my bank account is this, if I have this kind of house, this kind of car, then I'll be happy. So the happiness is shrinking because you have all these conditions that need to be met in order to be happy. What the Buddha is teaching you to do is get rid of all of that so that you can be happy all the time. If you have ice cream, you can be happy, but you're not happy because of the ice cream. You're just inwardly happy. But then when you don't have ice cream, you can still be happy. So at one time, my son had a craving, me too, had a craving for ice cream, right? And he could only be happy if he got ice cream. And then I helped him to eliminate this craving by helping him train his mind so that he could get to the point where he can be happy when he has ice cream, but he can be happy when he doesn't have ice cream. As long as you have a desire, a longing, a yearning, a wanting, and expecting, You can only be happy when you get that fulfilled. And because you live in an impermanent world, that can't be fulfilled permanently. So as long as you allow that craving, desire, attachments to be in the mind, you're going to continue to go up and down and up and down and up and down. You never get to a point where your mind's joyful and cheerful all the time.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
He's my husband. I think he's trying to ask is because he get hurt from his childhood. He's
Mm-hmm.
like 3 years old and his parents doesn't treat him very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he doesn't get that angry feeling, but he feel really sad. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know how to process this feeling. He can't change his childhood now, but he doesn't know how to get the sad feeling from the childhood. I think he want to be happy. That's a reason he asked.
Sure, that's what I do. That's what I do here, is I teach people how to do that, because I had the same experience. I had a lot of sadness in my mind from what I experienced in my childhood. But it's important that you understand from the beginning that it's not your parents that are causing these sad feelings. While they might have done things that were unwise in your life, and you consider those things to be unwise, that's not what's causing the painful feelings. What's causing the painful feelings is your parents did this, and you wanted them to do this. And because they didn't do this, the mind is sad or frustrated. So as long as your parents did this and you want them to do this, you'll never be happy. So you need to be able to get rid of the causes and conditions that are producing the sadness. So that's why my little intro, my little taste of the teachings of the Buddha, I explained to you what's causing the sadness, which is the craving, the desire, the wants and expectations. You expected your parents to do this, but they did this. Same thing I did. Same thing every single person in here had, is they wanted their parents to do this, but their parents did this instead. And this is why you're experiencing the sadness. And again, they could have done something that was unwise, but that's not what's causing the sadness.
So according to your preach, it's like a desire is the wrong thing. It's like people should not have desire. Is that what you're talking about? It's like once we kill our desire, we will feel joy and happiness forever.
Again, it's not right or wrong, but yes, when you have desire, which remember, we're defining this as a craving, desire, a longing, a yearning, chasing after the objects of your affection, craving permanence. As long as you have a desire for things to be a certain way and your mind is fixated on that, you can only be happy when you get that. And because you live in an impermanent world, you will never get your desires filled 100% of the time. So you need to come to the middle where you have goals, objectives, and interest, and you gradually work towards those aspirations with enthusiasm and with motivation, but you're not longing, yearning for it, right? As long as you're longing, yearning for it, you can only be happy if you get what you want. But if you're not doing that, what the unenlightened mind will typically do is it'll swing to the other side, where you'll be dull and lethargic and complacent and indifferent. And these are not the two extremes that the Buddha is teaching you. He's teaching you to come to the middle, where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests with enthusiasm and ambition. But you need to be careful with this word goal, because right now, if you have a goal and you accomplish your goal and you're happy, and you don't accomplish your goal and you're sad, that's not a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment. That's a longing, a yearning. A true goal is something that you can gradually work towards, and whether you accomplish it or not, you can maintain your peace, you can maintain your joy. But if you have a craving, desire, attachment, you can't do that. So to answer your question, yes, you need to get rid of the desire, but that doesn't mean that you don't pursue your goals and objectives in the world. You can do that through wise decision making. So for example, one of my goals, one of my objectives is to see the teachings of the Buddha reach the entire world. I'd like to see the teachings restored back into the world in a way that they were when the Buddha was alive. But I don't do that with a craving, desire, attachment. If I did it with a craving, desire, attachment, I could only be happy when things go my way. So when I first started teaching here, people didn't even know I was teaching. Sometimes I would show up and there was nobody here. There's nobody. So I would just go home. But now you see the room is full of people, right? That's because of one decision after another, one wise decision after another has led to more and more people being interested to learn. So yes, you need to get rid of the longing, the yearning, the wanting and expecting, and you can only be happy when you get things your way, because that's just going to sabotage your ability to be permanently happy, which is called unconditional happiness. Right now, you experience conditional happiness, that you can only be happy when certain conditions are met. What the Buddha is guiding you towards is unconditional happiness, where you can be happy regardless, that there's no condition that needs to be met in order for you to be happy. And this is something that the mind's capable of doing, but you need to train it to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I need you to use that so the people online. It's on. It's already on. The people online are going to be able to hear you if you use your.
Just one question was, you said some time ago that you teach Noble Eightfold Path once every month. So my question is, when is the next time you will be?
I teach it at least once every month.
Okay.
I teach it multiple times. The next time I'm going to teach it is going to be Monday morning here at 9 a.m.
Monday morning.
I'll be teaching it there. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank
As
you.
part of our course, we have a Harmony and Relationships course where I'll
Okay.
be teaching it as part of that course.
Okay. So Monday morning, 9 a.m.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Yes. Question in the back.
Oh, David, I would like to seek your advice, like how to deal with unrespect attitude, or I would say incorrect accusation from my family members, like not in the past, but like maybe once a while ongoing in our daily life. I mean, I understand what you just said, like we should not have expectation from them how they do these things to me, but I will feel hurt if like I get this treatment. So if I push them away, then they might, like, for example, like what you say, like I should love everyone as my family member, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm afraid I would not have any feelings. Like, I don't know, like how to describe, like towards them. It's just like, oh, they are just everyone, so I don't care anymore. It's just sometimes this going on in my mind. So
Okay. So because people think it's their love and their care that is causing the painful feelings, they think the way to eliminate those is to not care, right? That's not true. You can actually have care and you can have love for people while not experiencing painful feelings as a result. The mind needs to learn how to do this. So if you have a relationship with someone and they're being bitter and harsh and hostile in the relationship, and maybe what you're describing is disrespectful, it doesn't make sense to stay in that relationship, but just choosing to leave the relationship isn't going to fix the problem. So from the outside looking in, these two things look exactly the same, that you're stepping away from a relationship. But what I was describing is when you have craving, desire, attachment, when you have wants and expectations and you get angry or frustrated, if an individual pushes someone away and then walks away from the relationship, in that person's mind, they're practicing what we call wrong view, which is where the mind thinks that the painful feelings that you're experiencing is coming from the other person. And the way to solve this is to push them away and leave the relationship. But that doesn't solve your painful feelings, because as soon as you're in another relationship where someone does exactly the same thing, you're going to experience those painful feelings again. So what the mind can do is the mind can choose to walk away or step away from a relationship while maintaining right view, to understand that, hey, it's not wise for me to be in this relationship because they're so bitter and harsh and hostile and disrespectful. Let me step away from the relationship, But any painful feelings that you're experiencing, it's coming from your own cravings. And you need to eliminate your own cravings, desires, attachments, wants, and expectations. So from the outside looking in, it's the same thing. You're choosing to step away from a relationship. It's about what's going on in your own mind. Are you maintaining right view, or are you having wrong view? So, for example, with my mom, you guys heard that I had a lot of resentment and hostility, and that was coming from my own expectations. So what I needed to do is I needed to step away from the relationship, train my mind to let go of those expectations. And it also helped her to train her mind to let go of her cravings and expectations for me. And then ultimately, when we came back together, then we were able to function better in our relationship because we didn't have cravings and expectations. By the time mom died, we had no arguments whatsoever for multiple years. We were just being friendly and loving and kind with each other. And you can get to that point with all people in your life. But as long as you have craving and wants and expectations, you can't do that. And as long as the other person has cravings and wants and expectations, you can't do that. So the way that you accomplish letting go is you need to distance yourself from the thing that the mind is craving, and then train your mind to let it go. That's what the Eightfold Path is going to do for you. So in these relationships where you're having difficulties and struggles, if you're committed to the relationship, what I suggest you do is step away from it, work on your own mind, and then when you get to a better place where you don't have expectations and craving anymore, then you can now start spending time with this person again. There's other things like contemplation of death and reflection of death that you can do in order to train your mind to eliminate the craving for permanence in this relationship. So there's multiple things you can do. If it was like a life partner, you're probably not going to necessarily step away for a long period of time but you can. That's why some people separate as life partners. They separate and then come back together. So you need to look at each relationship because there's some that you're going to need to walk away from entirely and you're never going to go back. But that's not going to solve your painful feelings, but it will train your mind to let go. And there's some relationships you're more committed to, you're going to need to step away from for a period of time and then come back. And then there's new relationships that are brand new relationships that you don't even know those people and you only ever be loving and kind with those people. So from the outside looking in, you're going to need to step away. It looks the same. You're going to need to step away. But you need to maintain right view that those painful feelings are coming from your own mind, and you need to let go of your expectations of this person because this person will never do things your way 100% of the time. And as long as you hold on to your expectations, you're going to continue to have anger and frustration in the relationship because it's coming from your own mind.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. I saw some more questions around. I'm not sure who's first. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'm not sure who's first, who's second.
I have a question. The question I had before coming here today has always been about I always relentlessly pursue perfection, both in my work and my life. Today, I've come here to understand that the longing for permanence is the root of suffering. So I still want to ask, how do I overcome the pain of fearing lost, the fear of losing loved family members, friends, and all that in this beautiful world? I often feel that a person is just a drop in the vast ocean. That's my question.
Yeah, you need to train your mind with this Eightfold Path. This is the path to enlightenment. You need to know it inside and out because it's one thing to sit here and intellectually share with you that your mind needs to let go and you need to eliminate craving, desire, attachment, but your mind doesn't know how to do that. So you can understand something intellectually, but the mind can't actually do it. And that's where the Eightfold Path is the consistent ongoing training to train your mind to let go. So if you learn this, either through our videos or our books or other resources, coming to classes, you'll be able to learn this because you're going to need to learn it more than one time. You can't just learn it once and then you get it 100%. So if you learn this inside and out, you'll be able to gradually train your mind to understand that mom and dad are impermanent. Grandma and grandpa are impermanent. When they die, they're impermanent. Of course they died because they were born. They have to die. But with your mind holding on and craving permanence, you'll be really painful feelings during that period of time when they first die. So your mind just needs to let go and get to the point where you have appreciation and gratitude that these people were in your life. and that you're not holding on and craving permanence. So again, I can share this with you, and intellectually you can understand it, but your mind's incapable of doing it because it hasn't been trained. And that's why you need this full training. Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested in the courses. How can I learn it here or?
Yeah, you can learn here, or we live stream our classes. So we have a course coming up all next week. It's Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 p.m. And you can attend here, or you can attend online through our live stream. You can look at our website, and you'll see all of our courses and our event calendar. Pretty much everything we do is live streamed. So our website is buddhadailywisdom.com. On the bottom. Yeah.
I've got another question because you mentioned unconditional happiness. And my interpretation is that you allow everything to happen and you flow with it. Do I get it right for the unconditional happiness?
Partially. Sometimes when we talk about this, people come to that conclusion that you just kind of let everything happen around you, right? That's not true. You can take action. Like when my son came home with bad grades, what we might call bad grades, or, undesirable grades, less than wonderful grades. I looked at it and I was like, this is unfortunate. He's got some F's in his grades. I was like, this is not permanent. I can help him to change this, but he needs to understand the importance of grades, and then he's the one that needs to make the decisions, not me. So getting to happiness doesn't mean you just sit back and just let everything happen. It means that, when you see something that can be improved, you can take action, but you would like to do it wisely. So when I went to talk to him, I wasn't angry. I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't irritated. I wasn't demanding and controlling. I just talked to him and shared with him what would be wise for him to get these better grades, and then how to do that. And he was interested in that. And now that's what he does. He gets better grades. So it doesn't mean you just sit back and everything happens and you just smile because somebody's sitting there stabbing your mother with a knife. You're just like, well, that's impermanence. Oh, well, right. That's not the way that the Buddha is teaching you to do that. Mm-hmm. But in order to get to complete happiness and joy, you need to eliminate your craving, your longing, yearning. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
My question is that do you think the idea that we want everybody to be happy, to be safe, to be peaceful is also a desire that makes us unhappy? Because some people, it's very, very easy to feel called political depression.
Mm-hmm.
Many bad things happen very far away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Some people still feel very unhappy.
Yeah. You're misunderstanding. I don't want everybody to be happy. I have an interest in seeing everybody be happy. I aspire for everyone to be peaceful, but I understand that that's not going to happen during my lifetime, right? It's not possible. So I'm working towards a goal that will never be accomplished during my lifetime. Same like the Buddha, right? He aspired for the same thing, right? So you can pursue a goal, objective, or interest without a desire. What your mind is thinking is that by doing this meditation that we want everybody to be happy. That's the longing, yearning. We have an aspiration, we have a goal, we have an objective, we have an interest to see people understand these teachings. And then if people choose, they can learn and practice to be able to experience it. But of course, during my lifetime, not everybody in the world is going to learn and practice these teachings. I understand that that's impermanence. So it's a matter of working towards something without a longing, yearning, and craving that permanence. Do you see that? Yeah. So it's what's going on in the mind. It's not just the fact that we have an interest for people to be happy. It's about whether the mind's longing, yearning for it, and forming your feelings based on it or not. Okay?
Yes. So another question is, you said there's nothing that's good or wrong, right or wrong. There's nothing wrong, but do you think there's something that's absolutely evil? That's if somebody like doing something you think very bad, like taking freedom from other people, killing good person, something like that.
It's unwise for people to do certain things. There's unwise actions that people can take that is going to produce unwholesome results for them. But I would never put myself in a position where I'm telling somebody what they should or shouldn't do, or I'm putting my expectations on somebody to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, because each person is making their own choices and they get to make the choices that they think is best for them. But if somebody comes to me and they say, David, would it be wise for me to go outside on the street corner and kill the first person that I see? Of course, I'm going to say that's unwise for you to do that, but I wouldn't label it as pure evil and some of these really strong, degrading, diminishing words that people use where they condemn people, they, label people as being evil. This is just the mind's judgment. This is the mind's conceit. And for someone who doesn't have conceit, you're not going to label other people as being evil, or you're not going to condemn other people. This is really unwise. So an individual who understands this path and who understands the natural laws, we understand what is wise and unwise in terms of our bodily actions and our speech and our livelihood, the way we support ourselves and things like this. But we're not going to cast that onto other people and try to judge other people as being good or bad, right or wrong, evil, or things like this, because that's just your conceit that's doing that. And it's going to hinder you from being able to have harmonious relationships with all people, because it's just your ego coming out towards those people. And then when your ego is coming out, people are just going to push you aside. They're going to be disinterested in associating with you. And now how can you help anybody in the world if people are pushing you aside? So you need to get away from that labeling of other people, condemning other people, judging other people. That's what the ego and the conceit's going to make you want to do. But you need to see how unwise that is and choose opposite of that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When meditation, should I just only focus on the breathing? How can I do if I my brain, my mind start to wander? For example, when meditation, my mind will filled with worries in work, in life.
Yeah, so the goal of this meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. It's to notice them sooner and sooner and let them go easier and easier. So as your mind moves, you need to notice that. That's your mindfulness. And then you need to cut it off and let it go and come back. Even an enlightened being, they have thoughts during their meditation, but they have quietness and stillness between their thoughts. So the fact that you have thoughts during meditation, that's not harmful. That's not, anything problematic. You will have thoughts, but you notice them sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. That's what you would ultimately like to get to. And the breathing mindfulness meditation is the first one you'd like to start with, which is about 4 weeks. Start with the breathing mindfulness meditation and really develop that. That's going to help you get started. But you need more than just the meditation. That's why there's all these steps here. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, but my mom had meditation for 8 years. She still has this question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If she hasn't learned with a specific teacher, oftentimes you need a dedicated teacher. This is what's going to help her to be able to get the real insight that she needs to make real progress. Yep. So we have one question here online too. It says from Steve, a technique question. For loving kindness meditation, do you have approximate timing suggestions for the breathing awareness and loving kindness components? For example, and then he gave an example. So what I usually do is about 3 to 5 minutes of breathing mindfulness. Then you do 6 to 8 rings of the loving kindness, which usually ends up being about 12 to 15 minutes. And then you do another 3 to 5 minutes of breathing mindfulness. So as a whole, it ends up being about a 30-minute meditation. Okay. So I don't see any other questions anywhere. Oh, you have a question? Yes, ma'am. That's okay. Oh, you have it on your phone? Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can read. My husband gave me love when I was at my most helpless and desperate. He was like a ray of light that brightened up my life. Even though he didn't truly understand my pain, he never disliked me or abandoned me. But I poured all of my expectations and need for control onto him, and it made him suffer so much. That's why he left. Now I've become that unloved little girl again. Right now I feel so desperate, so full of regret, and so lonely. People tell me to love myself, but I can't give myself love right now. All I feel is this overwhelming pain to the point where I want to die. Okay, I understand. It's important to understand that yes, you've made some unwise decisions in the past. Actually, would you like to talk about this privately? Because I'm online here. Why don't I disconnect and then we can sit and talk privately? How about that? Is that what? Can you understand what I'm saying? Let me close the live stream and then we can talk. Okay. All right. So for everybody online, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your interest to learn and practice the teachings of the Buddha. We have all the opportunities to learn in the future, and you're welcome to attend any of these classes. We'll see you in the future. Okay. Take care and be well. Sawadee ka. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.